Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Benergy channel. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. Instead of the live commentary, I've gathered some footage to play in the background so that I can give you some more focused and detailed thoughts about Nubia and her inclusion, because we've got some things to discuss. If you want to engage with any of the points I make, please feel free to do so, but I would humbly ask that you hear me out first so that you're not arguing against something that I'm not claiming or something I've already addressed, if that makes sense. But real quick, before we do that, let me give a big shout outs to a couple people. Shout outs to Proxy from Brazil. Shout outs to Eliolal Varez, and shout outs to Ernest Igor. Without further ado, guys, let's talk a little bit about Nubia. Alright guys, let's just get into it. Now I'd like you all to be a little bit intellectually honest with me, have some faith in my arguments, and just hear me out. You're more than welcome to disagree. I'm going to go ahead and make a claim and try to back up my claim and also address some counterpoints to it, okay? Similar to as if we were writing an essay in class, alright? So here's my claim. I believe that Nubia should not have been added to the game. I think a different character should have been the mid-season character for Season 3. And I think that the Nubia character should have been a legendary variant for Wonder Woman. And that should have been what they did. Alright, now let me tell you a little bit why. Now the reason why is very basic and straightforward. But it's also decently compelling once you address some counterpoints. This game is obviously published by Warner Brothers, who has an insane list of potential characters to add to this game, first party characters, and Nubia was nowhere even close to the top 50 characters that people were looking for. Now, that's my claim. Let me address some counterpoints to the game, to the claim. Counterpoint 1, Nubia's gameplay is fun. Yes, of course it's fun. I have trust and faith in player first games to always deliver on the gameplay aspects of the game. I think that they could probably take just about any character and make it interesting. They could have added the Flash's left big toe, and they would have found a way to create an interesting kit out of it with unique mechanics. So the issue itself isn't the gameplay, guys. Having a fun gameplay is a bare minimum, and it's something that you can trust player first games to perform with on any kind of character they add. So I don't really believe that to be an effective reason why Nubia is a good inclusion to the game. Okay, so by the way, all these counterpoints that I'm coming up with are derived from the conversations that I've seen online in spaces like X or Reddit recently. So if you have a different point you want to make, again, I would recommend you wait till the end of the video and then post whatever you want to say down below. Again, I want to say before I continue that my opinions and thoughts are not to hate or disparage those who are enjoying Nubia as an inclusion overall. More power to you, by all means. Again, I'm offering an opinion and some points that I'm trying to convey that I think are actually decently popular within the community. So let's continue. Another counter argument I've heard of why it's good that Nubia is added is that she's kind of unknown, or she's a character that's not represented in many forms of media. So it's good that they're bringing her to the light. And I would say, why is that the case? Why would that be the case that that's a good thing? Now, I'm speaking purely as someone who has been a long time fan and advocate for multiverses. I've always wished to see multiverses succeed. And I don't understand why the argument that she's unknown and that's a good reason to add her makes sense. Wouldn't it make more sense to add characters who are well known, who would generate more excitement? And that kind of goes into the second point, or this next point, is that some people think that it's good that she's added for representation's sake. And what I mean by that is that, like, for the example, the fact that she is a female, not only that, she's a black female. And so having that representation where it might have been lacking is a good thing. Two things I want to say about that are true at the same time. One, I understand that point, and two, I don't think that that's a good metric for deciding who should be added into this game. Now, I don't know if that's player first games who decides that thing. I kind of have a feeling it has more to do with Warner Brothers, typically because at the end of the Nubia trailer, they showed off her like new comic book. It's like, oh, buy the comic book for Nubia, guys. Just kind of like a Warner Brothers thing. But guys, I think truthfully, if I'm trying to be honest here, I don't see how a character's race or sex combination is a good metric to decide if they should be added to the game. Now, and I'm saying this because I think I want multiverses to last and thrive for a long time with a very substantial player base. And if we're being very honest with ourselves here, the inclusion of a character like Nubia is not going to make people re-download multiverses, and it's not going to bring new players into multiverses, not in the same way that some of the most highly requested, anticipated characters would. I believe the characters that are being added to the game each time should be someone that sparks a new wave of players to come because they're finally seeing their most favorite highly requested characters come in. I don't think some of the recent characters such as Nubia or even Beetlejuice, I don't think that they fit the bill in that regard. And so I'm a little bit disappointed to see that because I'm worried that this game could fall off in the long run if they're not working to generate and add characters that create excitement across a larger player base. Now, in response to some of the points I've made so far, you might hear some people online, this is what I saw, they might say you're being ungrateful because Player First Game adds 2 characters every season and that's amazing. Yes, it is amazing. Guys, I'm not saying I'm not grateful. That's not addressing the point that I'm making. The point I'm making is that they're going to go through all that hard work and effort to give us these new characters. It should be characters that spark a huge wave of excitement across the cast. And the truth be told, if you were engaged with the community and when they announced Nubia or got leaked or anything like that, almost nobody even knew who the character was. So is it the point that now we do so people might buy the comic book? Maybe, but that just seems kind of like a cash grab or something. The second point that people might like to say in response to something I've said so far is they might even try to suggest that I'm somehow being bigoted for not wanting Nubia to be added because of the point earlier about how she is possibly added as a form of representation. Now, besides the point that there are other black females that they could have added that would have been actually cool, such as number 5 from the codename Kids Next Door, this is also just an extremely intellectually dishonest point. Okay, and I really hate to say this because normally I'm very family friendly on this channel and I try not to be rude or keep it positive. But if you truthfully, earnestly suggest that someone's upset about the inclusion of Nubia because of her race or gender, then I'm afraid you might just actually be a bit of a moron. And there's not really much anyone can say to sort of fix that issue for you. But guys, the truth is, the gameplay is fun. That's to be expected, alright? But this character is not known, it wasn't on anyone's radar, and that's a reason that they shouldn't be added above the huge list of characters that people are dying to see added to the game. If it's about representation, they should have picked someone who's not just another Amazonian woman, and should have picked someone who could have provided a different form of aesthetic or theme or gameplay-wise. Okay, and if you think the people who are against Nubia's inclusion are being ungrateful or bigoted, I think you're being very intellectually dishonest about what's being said, and you should possibly reconsider why people might hold the opinions they have. I hope I've laid this out for you to be more clear. If you have a point that you'd like to make in agreement or disagreement, I'd happily like to hear it, but let's keep our comment section civil and let's not be too rude to each other or anything like that, because everybody's entitled to their own opinion. And as someone who is a huge fan of multiverses, I'm only giving these opinions because I'm just desperate to see this game succeed in the long run, and I want the Player First Games and Warner Brothers to make choices that I think would facilitate that. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. But again, this is my opinion. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. I'm interested to see what everybody will have to say. Please take care, enjoy the rest of the gameplay, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Match point, red team.
Take it off, Nubia. I am Nubia.
Match point, blue team.
The North never forget. just stand around.